All right, this is just a simple introduction to CSS Animations. Now, there are a whole ton of properties associated with the animations, but basically it breaks down to this. You need to, in your CSS, have an @keyframe section. Here you give a name to the animation, and then you can define any values that you want. So these are the things that I want to animate. I can set up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 100% of my animation and say what's changing. I can have multiple properties inside of here. I'm just doing a simple rotation transform, but we could do other things as well. We could say that we want to transform the scale of, I'm going to be animating this box right here. So I'm going to start at 0 degrees and I'm going to go to 360. So it's going to do one full rotation. And my scale, I'm going to start off at 100%. At the 50% mark, I want the scale of my transform to be, let's say 2, so twice the size. And then coming back here, I want to make it back to 1. Now, with transform, if I write it like this, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting this and then overwriting it, and then setting this, overwriting it. So we need to make sure that we put both of these things in the transform together, like this. And then every time we set a new value for the transform, we have to include both things. So I will have to figure out, all right, what's halfway around the circle? 180 degrees. And when I'm finished, I want to have scale back to 1. Okay, so these are the steps in my animation. I could do other properties as well. We could change color, we can change opacity, transforms. Those are the best 3 things. You can change other properties as well, font size, padding, anything that's got a value that you could change incrementally. Like I cannot change something from display block to display inline. There's no in-between states there. But anything that you can change a number, a font size, a padding, border size, things like that, you can adjust those. Once you've got your animation defined, you'll notice I don't have time here. I'm using percentages. If you just have a start and a finish, you can also use the keywords from and to, but most of the time I've got more than one step, so I use percentages. Now, inside the element that you are going to be animating, so this box is what I want to animate. I need to define, and there's a whole bunch of properties. This is the list of the properties and in the order in which they're supposed to be defined. If you use the animation shorthand like this, animation, then you can list any or all of these properties. You'll need a few of them to get started, but this is the order that you're supposed to list them in. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to use the individual properties so you can see them all and exactly what they mean. Okay, so name, this points to the keyframes, whatever name you used here, that's the name that we have up here. Duration, this is how long I want it to take. So I didn't put times here, I had the percentages. This is how long it's going to take to go through those 100%. Animation timing function, well, this is just like any transition that you've done, going from one state to another. Do you want to do ease in, ease out? And if we come in here, you can see there's all these options. I'm going to do linear because I'm doing rotations and I want it to be a constant rate of change. So it's just going to spin at a constant rate. So we've got duration, the delay property. Yeah, that's the next one. Delay property is how long you want it to wait before it begins. So we could say in milliseconds, we can say in seconds. So 1s is 1 second. 1000 milliseconds, same thing, it's 1 second. You can use whichever unit you prefer. Iteration count. So this is the animation iteration count. This is how many times do you want it to take place. So you can say 0, you can say 1, you can say 42, or infinite. You want to keep something going forever and ever and ever. So there we are. Here's my animation. You can see the scale is going from 1 to 200%, 100% to 200%, back and forth, and it's doing a full rotation. Now that might get a little tedious, so I'm just going to set this to 1. Or actually, I'll put it to 4, because there's a couple things I want to show. The animation direction. Now, normal, start at 0%, go to 100%. reverse, start at 100%, go back to 0. So you're doing it in that. Alternate and alternate reverse, or alternate and alternate reverse, what we're saying is the first time through, go from 0 to 100, and then go backwards from 100 to 0, like this. So it's going forward 1, backward 1, forward 1, backward 1, and then my 4 times are done. So alternate. And then alternate reverse, well, you're just, the first time through, you're starting at the 100%, going to 0. Okay, so that's our direction. The fill mode. This has to do with, it's not going to have much meaning here. I can set forwards, I can set backwards on this. When it animates, you're not going to see any difference in this. When you're doing something and the beginning and the ending are different, so if we were changing the background color, let's say background color, we'll start at our cornflower blue, but we will go to light coral. We'll make that our finishing color. So 1 second delay, and then it's going through, and then it's coming back to blue, and then back to this. So this forwards means this is the color that we're going to have when we're finished. If we say backwards, that's the fill mode that we want to use. After the 1 second delay, it starts, we go through, and then at the end of the 4, oh, typically we get the finished condition. Don't know why it's not showing up the light coral at the end. Oh, possibly because I'm doing the alternate. Yeah. So just going to say normal. Do it once with the normal. Yeah, I love these live coding demos. Oh, I'm saying this backwards. Forwards. There we go. When I say forwards, this is, think about going forward. When you're at the end of the animation, I'm going forward. So forwards, this is the ending state where I'm going to be. So if I made this 270 degrees instead of, there we go. So it's going through the animation, and it finishes up at the 270 degrees with the light coral background. That is forwards. Backwards puts us back to the initial state when the animation's done. There, you can see it jumps backwards. Okay, so that's fill mode. And then play state. This is something, so animation play state, we're going to make it running. There's two options, paused or running, and I'm going to get rid of the delay on this, or I'll set it to 0 for now. I'm going to add on the box a style for hover. With this, we're going to change this one property. And we'll make our iteration count, let's do 4 times alternate. With none with the fill mode, you're leaving it at whatever state it is when the animation stops running. Okay, so my animation, there we are, we're going back and forth between 270 and 0 degrees. The scaling's working, animation count 4. I'm going to jump that up to 12 just so it keeps going for a while. When I hover, you can see the animation play state changes to paused. I go over, and I can do this as many times as I want. Every time I go over it, it's going to stop. It's going to change the animation play state to paused. And there, that's it. That is all of the CSS animation properties. I mean, there's so much you can do. There's so many properties you can animate, but try to stick with colors, opacity, and transform. Those are the ones that are going to give you the best performance in terms of in the browser. You're not going to get those janky, jittery animations if you stick with those properties. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I will leave a code gist with this sample as in the comments section or in the description section so that you have a copy of it. And as always, thanks for watching.